Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Sun and Venus aligning in Gemini. It is Monday, June 6th, and we have a pretty important event going on. I just got back from the river. It is absolutely hot out here and completely fabulous, but I really didn't have a lot of time to do this video because I've been playing, because it's been gorgeous. And I think that encompasses Gemini energy. If I were to describe what Venus conjuncting the Sun would be like, it definitely encompasses the fun mindset. It's all about a good time. It's kind of like a really childlike energy, like it just wants to go out there and just constantly have a good time. It's all about pleasure. It's all about an intellectual, stimulating time. Great conversation. It's all about, you know what it is? It's about the twin energy. So for some of you, it could be about having lots of deep talks at the same time you're having a really good time. Or it could be having a lot of deep talks about wanting to do something pleasurable with your life, or wanting to go start up a new creative project, or wanting to get to know a loved one. This is very loving energy caught in a really high vibration. I'm going to bring this down a notch because, of course, that would be the ideal conjunction, but we have a lot of energy at play at the same time, which kind of makes this an interesting conjunction because we just got over the new moon in Gemini, and then Venus and the Sun conjunct in Gemini. We have a mutable Grand Cross, and then we have a Grand Earth Trine at the same time. So we have dual energies represented, but we also have the alignment in the mutable cross. Like it's involved in the mutable cross because, of course, it's a mutable energy. So this could go drastically different ways. You could have two options. There could be two choices that give you completely different possibilities. That's absolutely part of this. You could definitely get caught up in some sort of mutable situation in love. If you're caught in a mutable situation in love, that means there's probably some confusion around a partnership, or there could be a confusion about where you stand, or confusion in the ways that you're communicating with each other. This could be in a significant bond or union. It doesn't have to be in that classic traditional relationship. Gemini energy, they like a lot of relationships, and it could be, you know, the relationships that are friends that are turning into something more, or there could be that tension that's building up into, you know, it's accumulating till now because we just, you know, we had that new moon event, new beginnings, and so your friendships may be taking a new turn. To me, Gemini energy always represents friends and social circles. I know the 11th house does as well, but in this energy, it just has a very social aspect because it's a conjunction between Venus and the Sun in Gemini. So some of you just deeply desire to be understood, deeply desire to fall in love, or have conversations that lead to love, or put your relationships in that direction, or completely dissolve them and go after something that's a lot more sparkly, or a lot more interesting, or a lot more intellectually stimulating for some of you. For some of you, this could just be you're definitely going for it in this energy, or you're definitely dissolving it. It's a very either or type of energy. This also has to do with your creative projects. Venus represents very creative energy, and so does the Sun. It represents what you desire and creating something that stimulates you from what you deeply desire. And so, and this has a lot to do with intellectual energy as well. So I can think, so some of you may be thinking through something that you deeply desire to create, or something that you hope to get going. Like maybe some of you have been journaling for a really long time, and now there's just like this overwhelming desire to like maybe get this published, or maybe share this idea. Maybe some of you have had a really great idea that could generate what you feel is going to be a lot of money. So for some of you, it could be like, I want to talk about this with somebody. I have something interesting to share, and it has the possibility of making me money. Venus represents money. So you can see that this can go in a lot of different directions, and so you can see why the mutable T-square is pulling us in many different directions. You know, because it represents a lot of different directions in your life. But what it all boils down to is what you deeply desire from your closest bonds and your unions, what you deeply desire in your conversations and your intellectual stimulation. Like, you need to be understood. You need to be able to share an idea, and you need your partner to understand you. Or you guys need to find a way to communicate, or you want to learn how to communicate more effectively. Or there is somebody that you're trying to get through to that you're coming up with maybe 4 different ways to try to get through the same concept, because Gemini energy can be, they just talk. They talk and they talk and they talk, and they talk often about the same thing. And it can be very draining to listen to Geminis. And I know that some people probably feel that about me because I have a Gemini rising. But Geminis are just if they think that you don't understand it, they're going to explain it a different way. And if they think that you don't fully understand it from their perspective, they're going to explain it a different way. So some of you may be having a lot of talks that kind of came out of nowhere that seem to be intensifying your situations, and you're wondering where it's coming from. Well, it's in a mutable Grand Cross right now. What this energy is going to do is it's going to inevitably pull you in all of these different directions so that you can kind of hone in this energy or these conversations or these desires or these creative pursuits, or maybe some of you are thinking about vacationing, or you're thinking about adding like a home, like a vacation spot to your life so that you have somewhere pleasurable to go on a regular basis. Or maybe some of you may be making plans to go away, on somewhere that you deeply want to go to. Like some of you could be going, I heard that some of you, like one of the comments that somebody said is that they were going on a cruise. Totally Gemini energy, totally Venus and the Sun conjunction. It's all about that pleasurable aspect to your life, and if it's not about planning it, it's about looking at it and how can you find the money to do this. And this has to be some sort of daily aspect, like what do you need to add to your life, or what do you need to subtract? Now, Mercury this time is in Taurus energy. So this is going to be something that you deeply value. This is going to be something that is, you feel this energy. You feel compelled. This energy is a very intuitively compelling energy. In fact, some of you aren't going to be able, and here's another Gemini weird little energy that some of you may not understand. This stuff comes out of left field, even for the people that are in the middle of these conversations. So they may just begin to sit down and just, I don't know, talk about the weather. And all of a sudden they're pouring out their feelings to somebody, or having a pretty intense conversation, or getting down deep to the heart of the issues that's been going on, especially in significant partnerships. So some of you are going to be surprised at some of the conversations that you're going to be having with people, because initially, when you started out, that's not what the night was going to be about. And then all of a sudden, there's just this very compelling thoughts that were shared during your time together. I think what you deeply desire in this energy is that the attention that you feel that you deserve. Now, remember, we just went through a bunch of energy that was assessing what we value and why we value it. So you have to understand, of course, what comes along next is, if I value it, how do I go about getting it? This energy is all about getting it, or at least planning to get it, or at least having the conversations that lead to getting it. And it has to do with deep desires. But you're definitely going to want to be recognized. You definitely need the attention in this energy. This is about pleasure. A lot of pleasure. what you're hoping for is almost an idyllic outcome, but we have Saturn squaring off in this same mutable Grand Cross, keeping your expectations extremely unpleasantly realistic. So you love that person, but you're going to have to love flaws. I think what it's going to point out is, do you love somebody's worst aspects? Now, meaning you're in love with what you idealize, the good twin or the light twin, or however you want to describe these twins. And then, but do you really love the dark twin? Do you love, for better or for worse, is going to be some of the questions that you're going to not only be brought forth, but you're going to really deeply ask yourself. And then I think you're going to be confronted to have conversations about, because the worst is a reality check in expectation. And for some of us, that worst could break us up. That could be that, you know, we stay together or we break up energy. I believe June is a huge breakup or stay together, twin soulmate type, come together type unions. This is about magnetic attraction. So for some of you, you may not even be thinking about a relationship, but in this energy, if you are caught in a really positive energy, and even if you're caught in the mutable Grand Cross energy, it could mean that you're stuck. You're regimentedly stuck in energy that single doesn't suit you anymore. You have a karmic twin flame somewhere, and you were destined to meet. And this is the energy that can just come out of nowhere, and you're like, I wasn't even thinking about a relationship, and it just hits you. You have one, because there's a magnetic attraction in this type of energy. I think that it is possible to be overindulgent in this energy. Be mindful of this energy. Be mindful of extremes in this energy. It could be either really, really bright in your life or really, really dark in your life. And I don't feel like there's a middle in this energy all that much. Remember that you can be a little bit self-oriented in this energy. This is all about what pleases you. So those really intense negative conversations is going to pull your conversation to a really dark place, which is really going to start to expose some of the dark energy that I'm talking about, that dualistic light and dark energy that exists in this kind of conjunction. Anyhow, guys, I'm going to be right back to tell you how this is going to affect your sun, your moon, and your rising. Hi guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and I'm here to tell you how the Venus and Sun conjunction is going to affect your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. So, dear Aries, during this event, you're kind of have somewhat of an uneventful status. I think that this has everything to do with kind of socially interacting on a very kind of superficial level. This is going to be for some of you, you're going to be reassessing what you value. You're going to be taking a look at it from two sides. And I think what you're going to deeply be caught up in is what pleases me. You know, and you're talking on a day-to-day level. You're not talking on, you know, forever. I mean, this doesn't really feel like forever energy with you, but it definitely feels like, you know, I need more pleasure in my day-to-day life. And what do I deeply value? Some of you are going to be having conversations with yourself and conversations with others about what you deeply value, who you value, and why you value it. And it's going to start to put some of your relationships into perspective. I think that your life revolves around some sort of past situation, or perhaps some of you have somebody that you deeply in a dark way, kind of like in a hidden way, desire. For some of you, this may not be somebody that you want to know, or maybe it's like that person that's from afar, or maybe for some of you it's just maybe it's an old flame that you can't quite let go of in your head. There's an intensity that shows up in this energy, but what I believe that does is that really puts into perspective that it puts the desire back in your life. Like for some of you, there could have been a stagnant energy in your life. And this deeply brings forth a little bit of just raw Mars energy. This is going to intensify what you deeply desire. And it's going to be connected to the past, or at least a past intense desire that is brought forth. So what it does is it kind of revitalizes you a little bit. Now, what's a little strange about this energy is I believe that it's a lot more emotionally motivated than I think it is just this deep carnal, just, you know, masculine energy. I deeply believe for you that this is really evoking like the feminine energy. The two energies that I see really aspecting you have a feminine nature about them. And so I believe what's really starting to brew within you is just this, I don't know, just this need to be loved and have conversations that you deeply value and surround yourself with people that you deeply value, and to enrich your life and enrich your interactions. And there needs to be something that dives deep, and these are healing conversations or healing thoughts. The intensity arises to help you want the things that either you purposely omit from your life in fear because of some situation from the past, or it's something that you're scared to feel again. And so for many of you, kind of went into this dead zone where you kind of were just going through the motions in relationships, partnerships and unions. And this could be anywhere from, this could be in, you know, your conversations with others on your day-to-day level. Like, I think you kind of felt a little bit robot-y through your life. It was just like going through the motions of life, but I think you deeply kind of feel compelled to be like intensely understood and have these conversations that, I don't know, put the raw, you know, magnetism and affection and you know, just where you can exchange ideas about daily life. Like, you kind of want somebody in your life that you can talk to easily, and you guys can sit across from each other and you can exchange these daily experiences and be deeply compelled to be understood. It's the energy is, I love that you're not caught in the Mutable Grand Cross. In fact, you're not caught in any of these extremes, the two twin extremes. That's not to say that the Gemini energy doesn't evoke a twin response, because anytime you're adding feminine energy to such a masculine energy, of course that brings forth a little bit of duality in the energy that's really influencing you. But I deeply believe that there's something to be said for the energy that's at play. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi dear Taurus, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Sun and Venus aligning in Gemini. Now, this is big news for you because this is your ruler. This is your ruler in this conjunction, so it's a big deal. Unfortunately, this conjunction is being aspected by a Mutable Grand Cross, so it's right in the heart of this Mutable Grand Cross, and your ruler is opposing Neptune. And it is squaring off with Saturn and squaring off with Jupiter. So one of the things that I deeply feel about your energy is what you're trying to attract in your life, because I think that Venus rules attraction, and it rules money, it rules love, partnerships and unions. And your energy is going to start to attract what you deeply wholeheartedly desire in your life. What's confusing about this energy for you is probably deciphering what you actually wholeheartedly want. Now, I often see that Taurians want things, but they go in this very long roundabout way getting them. And I think some changes need to be made, because I think the old way of getting what you want or what you deeply desire, especially if you value it, I think you need to be a little bit riskier in it, or you need to be a little bit more forthcoming. I mean, I think that you need to, I think you need to take risks. And I think you need to make yourself completely understood, especially in romantic relationships, bonds, and unions. I think that you should not settle for idealizing these situations. I think you should be much more realistic about your situations. And I think the only way that you can be truly, deeply realistic about these relationships is to be completely forthcoming about what you want. Gemini energy rules communication. It rules a lot of things, but it rules communication, and it rules duality, and it rules sharing and exchanging thoughts. It rules the day-to-day life. And so for some of you, what I think you're deeply assessing is, what do I value on a day-to-day level that brings me what I deeply, deeply desire? You want pleasure daily. You don't want to settle for this roundabout approach that takes a million years for you to get what you want. Like, you want to get what you want right now. And I believe that this Mutable Grand Cross is pulling you in 4 different directions so that some of you defend and start to really figure out what you want, because some of you may have been a little bit indecisive or a little bit lost in getting what you want, or you could have been going about things the same old way. And we're kind of developing new perspectives and new mindsets. And when we do that, it's kind of shaking things up. And it's so, but I believe that there's something in your life right now that you deeply want and you deeply desire. And it is so valuable that I believe that this strain of being pulled in so many different directions, I believe it's time that you want to make this change, because if you don't, I believe that for some of you, there will be a missed opportunity. You will not have took the risk that you were being guided to take. And this will inevitably lead to this dream kind of going up in thin air. And so it's kind of, to me, what this suggests is, you're failing to look at the big picture. What you're doing is, and forgive me for the way that I'm going to say this, but for some of you, it's like, well, day to day, I can get something out of it, or I get I get a little bit of what I value out of it, or there's a smidgen of it, or I'm going in the right direction, or I see it. And so for some of you, it could be like, well, I have enough to kind of be okay. But I don't believe that. I believe what you're failing to see, and this quincunx that comes out of Pluto in Capricorn, this really elevated perspective, what you're failing to see is that if you don't take the risk that you need to take now, if you don't communicate effectively, and this has everything to do with your relationships, your partnerships, and your unions, and this has everything to do with sharing, getting somebody on your level, talking. Being vulnerable is kind of difficult. I mean, you're going to make yourself a little bit vulnerable in this energy if you're being intuitively guided the right way. Now, say that you're like, well, I don't feel like doing that. It feels too risky. I feel like I might take a loss in this situation over something that I value. And you're not interested in loss. You're interested in gain when Venus is conjunct with the sun. So for some of you, I believe that you will have a reality check, because the sun and Venus is going to be squaring off with Saturn saying change. Change the way that you've always been doing it. Change this. It's essential for you to get what you want, to get this karmic situation to give you what you desire. And it's super important that you do this. And I believe because you don't want the same old result. That's karmic lessons, karmic cycles, hamster on the wheel stuff. What you're really doing is developing different perspectives, different mindsets, and you're opening yourself up to new and invigorating concepts. And when you're doing that, you've got to do it different, right? So that's all this energy is pushing you to do, is to go after something that you deeply desire, that you value a lot. Take a risk, and this is probably going to be a heart-based risk. Have those deep conversations, and it's really going to ask you to be like, this is going to feel like you're kind of going against the grain, but going against the grain is what is recommended in this, because it's all about getting what you want. It's all about pleasure. It's all about aligning you with, on a day-to-day basis, with getting you what you want. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, Geminis. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Sun and Venus aligning in Gemini. Now, of course, this is a very blessed energy for you. Nothing feels better than Gemini energy, just all completely like really honed in and really excited. This brings out the best in your Gemini. So for some of you, what this is going to do is it's going to open up the lines of communication, I think. I feel like you're going to be deeply compelled to get what you deeply desire. Now, this energy is really honestly helping you identify what's important in relationships, what's important in your life, what's important with what you desire, what's pleasurable, what's not pleasurable in your life, what makes you feel good, what doesn't make you feel so hot. But what you're going to do is, I think, for many Geminis, is to open up, to be completely authentic. Sometimes, and I'm not saying this is every Gemini, so don't kill me, but sometimes Geminis have a tendency to say things they don't mean. And I don't believe it's because they want to say things they don't mean because they're deceptive. Some of them are. But I think that you want to please people and you want to engage people deeply. And so you kind of are able to read people. And so you can align your conversations and align what you have to say to kind of be somebody that they need or that they can understand. Like, you adapt. You're almost like this, you're a shapeshifter by nature. And I believe what this energy does is you can't shift your shape right now. And that's very unsettling. It's like, there's like, whoa, wait a minute. It's because I'm being so authentic. You're not interested in shape-shifting as much anymore. I mean, you can turn that power on anytime you want to. I believe that's one of your superpowers, is just this ability to shape-shift into anything anybody wants temporarily. I mean, you can't really hold out on it. I've never seen a Gemini really hold out for a very long time, but I definitely think it's a skill that you guys have. And I believe in this energy, it's not about shape-shifting. It's about getting what you deeply desire. It's about, stop doing that. It's like, it's not about, getting you to the level where you kind of adapt to whatever anybody else wants. It's like, wait a minute, what do I want? What do I need? What pleases me? And this has to be very simplified for you. You're all about the pleasure. So it's a very distinct question, an answer to your questions at all times. And so what you're going to feel very compelled to do is you're going to talk. You're going to talk about everything that you identify with. This is going to be about getting you what you want and what you desire and what pleases you. And this is a very, very realistic time for you. I love that this energy is coming into play for you. I love that your energy is involved in a grand mutable trine. And the reason that I say this is because this energy, if you're deeply aligned with being truly authentic, if you're not trying to be deceptive whatsoever or to shift into whatever shape somebody else wants, I believe that what's going to come about is you're going to be released from a lot of this past programming of like having to shapeshift. What this is, guys, is this is about somebody loving you, somebody valuing you, conversations with people that are deeply authentic, that are you, not you on their frequency, but you. And that's very important to Gemini. I think that's part of the evolution process for who you are and what you're going through right now. It's also a very karmic and a very destined time for you to be able to be understood. This is all about being completely and utterly understood. And I think for many of you, although that your entire purpose is communication, I believe what you lack is that ability to be truly, deeply authentic. And what I think this is about understanding yourself, what you desire, what pleases you, the selfish questions. And people can say that you're a selfish creature, and they can say that you have selfish intent. I don't think that's so. I have a Gemini rising. I can tell you right now it's not so. But it's easier to be what other people want you to be because it's just you're a people pleaser by nature because you like so much attention, because you like so much affirmation. I mean, there's a lot that you get out of these shape-shifting episodes that you do. But I believe what's being compelled in this energy is for you to change that, to ground yourself, to be authentic, and to be steadfast in this sense of authentic self. And in order to do that, you have to have these two planets merge. Venus merging with the sun is a big energy. It's a big push. It's a big push in aligning you with relationships and conversations and significant partnerships and unions in your life that bring forth this type of compelling need to be understood. They're karmic and they're healing. They're extremely healing relationships. So if some of you are really and this is all about attraction. So for some of you who don't have these types of situations, you're going to be surprised that many of you may start to attract just out of the blue, just like relationships or events in your life that set up these kind of bonds with people that really honestly start to stand the test of time, I deeply believe. You want to stay away, and even though I know it's compelling to fall back into old routines and rituals that no longer serve you. Now, don't shapeshift. Even though you're going to be compelled at sometimes when you want to turn the charm on and you want to get engaging and you want to perform so that you hook them. But inevitably, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to end badly because June is a month where we deal with a Mutable Grand Cross. And so you want to stay away from mutable, like mutating too much away from authentic self. Really, honestly, make it a point in your life to be as truly, deeply authentic during this process as you can. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner. I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Cancers. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Sun and Venus aligning in Gemini. And for you, your ruler is going to be opposing Pluto. I think that's the most significant aspect in this entire event. And anytime, because Pluto is in Capricorn, during the time this energy ignites, what you may find is that and this is partnership energy, because Capricorn energy represents partnerships for you. It represents that unions, bonds, partnerships. It's the house of others, significant others in your life, significant relationships. What I think that you're going to do is going to probably have to compromise in this energy. This feels like there is some sort of situation where you have somebody that's very fixed and very firm and very masculine, and then you have this very, very feminine energy, this dualistic. I feel like that's the dualistic energy that I feel. Now, habitually, you're going to want to fall into old patterns because this will feel a little bit emotionally turbulent. And so for some of you, because the Sun is aligning with Venus in Gemini, I believe that for some of you, this has a lot to do with working through some things that have been karmically sticking around for a while. So these may be difficult conversations about the past, or this may be realizations about patterns that you have been habitually doing for a very long time, and a partner kind of makes you aware of it. Remember that partnerships are mirrors, and so they mirror where we're deficient, or they mirror where we're strong. They mirror our strengths, they mirror our weaknesses. And do you see the polar opposite of that? Gemini energy is very black and it's very white. It's yin and it's yang. You know, it's very, these two perspectives. So Gemini energy really has these dualistic energies, and through conversation, which is why it's really aspected, its ruling planet is Mercury. What it does is it gets it to communicate, and I believe it brings these two extremes a lot closer together, which is why it's so very important for Geminis to have conversations, because conversations are what ground Geminis, and that's why they talk excessively, and that's why they're deeply compelled to be understood or to get points across, because I believe it helps them decipher. So you may be having conversations that are like that, and it could be with significant bonds, partnerships, and unions about grounding, about your foundation, about structure, about maybe you're too structured in your life, and about maybe you need to lighten up, and maybe you need to expand in your day-to-day life. You need to add some pleasure. You need to add some different types of habits or routines or rituals that really add a little bit more pleasure. This energy could be pushing you to just deeply understand what it's like to be a Gemini. And Gemini is all enthusiastic and curious and adaptable, and maybe some of this energy that's building up, between this grand. See, so Pluto's involved in a Grand Earth Trine. And that is where your others are, or in this energy, if you were just looking at it from just like the daily aspect. I'm not talking about what's transiting, what your actual transits are going if you're talking in your progress chart. But if you're just looking at the daily energy, Pluto is involved in a Grand Earth Trine. So your 7th house would be involved in a Grand Earth Trine, or your partnerships, or your unions, or your significant bonds, or your very, very long-term established relationships. Whenever I think of Pluto and I think of Capricorn, I think of like authority figures, or I think of, I keep having something in my eye and it's driving me crazy. Or I think of, like managers or people that you have got to know, really authority figures, strong masculine energy, somebody that's been around for a significant amount of time, or somebody that you see being around, or somebody that's a significant masculine energy in your life. And here you are all feminine in this energy. And you know what? And I am talking about males. Males can be highly feminine in this energy, or highly masculine in this energy, or possibly a bit of a dualistic mindset in this energy. What I think that Pluto is trying to get you to understand is there's a balance between the masculine desire to compartmentalize and to solidify and to, set up your foundation and to invest in long-term committed partnerships and unions and be a little bit traditional, and still consider the feminine energy, still consider the fact that, you still have all of these obligations, you still, have all of these routines, these commitments that you're involved in. I think what it is about being very realistic about your limitations, realistic about your routines and rituals, be realistic about your health, your mental limitations, strengths, and weaknesses. We're looking at the yin and yang in everything. And for you, a significant portion of this has to do with your relationships, and then the other portion is about how you think about all of these things, and about the bigger picture, and about what's been going on in your life for a significant time, and what needs to expand, what potential needs to expand, and what needs to be released. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Leos. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Sun and Venus aligning in Gemini. And of course, this is a big deal because this is your ruler, and it is in Gemini energy. And Gemini energy complements you. So you get kind of caught up in Gemini's drama and Gemini's extremes and Gemini's energy. And so of course it makes sense to me that what you're deeply aligning with is where Gemini is. And of course where Gemini is, because your sun is there, is in this grand mutable cross that we have going on. So a lot being expected of you. And I think what's really being asked of you is, what do you deeply desire? What do you hope for? And what do you dream for? There is a deep desire for this to be a realistic expectation. And so the extremes that you're going to be pulled in when Venus and the sun align is, can you pull everything off? That aspects in your life are, what are you idealizing? What needs to change? What needs to be brought back into reality, a realistic expectation? You know, what types of risks do you need to take moving forward? What risks have you taken in the past that didn't work out? So there's a little bit of a reflective cycle in this as well, between the past and the present, dualistic energy. I believe that this has everything to do with aligning you with what you deeply value, but applying discipline and structure to those areas, which again, I don't think structure is a big, priority for some Leos, because let's face it, and this type of energy, what it deeply compels you to is just go have fun. Just live in the moment. Just, push it to the extremes, and you can kind of do everything. You can go to that party, and you can have these, you can have these social events. It's very social energy. You can say what that partner needs to say over here, and you can, maybe, charm everybody in this energy. But I think this energy is honing all that in and making it you much more realistic. And I believe that if you are displaying a little bit of the Gemini shape-shifting, which you could easily do because you're a great performer in this energy, I believe that people are going to kind of call you on it. I believe that what I deeply believe is that people are going to be like, there's something kind of off about you, even though you're trying to do the same old, same old. I believe that it's not going to really, I believe that people are going to see through it. It's so hot here. It's as hot as the sun right now in my place, because I don't use AC, because I believe that it puts Freon in the air. So I'm baking. Anyhow, I believe what desperately needs to change, if you want to know what I think is catapulting this into making you consider the Earth Trine energy, is a lot of what you're doing I don't feel has a very stable content to it, or doesn't have the ability to stand the test of time, or doesn't have some sort of consistency or longevity to it. And so this is going to pull you in about 4 different extremes in every element of your life. And what you're really going to decipher after these extremes are done with you is, damn, I didn't really like to have those extremes. What can go? What can stay? What can I take a risk at? What's realistic? What's unrealistic in this energy about what you deeply desire? About relationships, partnerships, and unions. About communication, about your social circles. What are they getting you where you need to go? I mean, what do you desire from these social interactions? These people that you're connecting with. I mean, what's so valuable about them that you're going to keep them around? Mercury is in Taurus right now. And so I believe that a lot of these conversations, but what I think this is all compelling you to do is to kind of connect a little bit more with Earth Trine energy. You're going to want to ease the energy, because it's not going to feel entirely too pleasurable to be caught in this grand mutable cross and be pulled in 4 different directions, right? And so I think what you're deeply compelled to do is make that situation a little bit better for yourself. It's energy that will definitely align you with what is best about Gemini energy, and that is the ability to intellectually take a look at this stuff rationally. This is about having conversations with significant partnerships and unions. It's about having conversations with significant people in your social circles that I think that you hope that stick around. through this. I believe this energy is a make or break it energy. I believe that June is a very big, either you're going to go forward with relationships, significant partnerships or unions, or they're going to split up and they're going to dissolve because there's just no more need for them karmically. They just don't support this career, life path, destiny. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi dear Virgos, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Sun and Venus aligning in Gemini. Now for you, this is a beautiful event. Your ruler, Mercury, is going to be in Taurus, and it is in a beautiful, harmonious Grand Earth Trine during this event. So for some of you, what this has a lot to do with is directing your career, life path, destiny. Venus and the Sun both rule what you deeply desire, and it involves money, and it involves creative pursuits, passionate pursuits. Gemini energy is probably, there's some sort of intellectual component to it. Maybe some of you have a wonderful idea that you wish to share to some sort of authority figure or in your career that could kind of give you a little bit of recognition. For some of you, what this is that feeling of getting the recognition that you deeply desire from an authority figure, because you have been really working hard, because you deeply value whatever it is that you're pouring all of this significant energy into. Now, one of the things that I know about a lot of Virgos is they marry their work, or they marry their, their significant relationship, or their bond, their passion deeply involves some sort of element where they're in service of something or someone or of an organization, or there is a job that needs to be done, and they pour a significant amount of energy into it. So in this energy, because of this Grand Earth Trine, what I believe if you have been deeply authentic, and you have been, really pursuing having Jupiter expand this new sense of self, one of the things that I think that you're going to be completely compelled to realize is the big picture. So some of you, this is a really big idea, or for some of you, this is really aligning what you value with that concept. So some of you, it's about making a significant decision on, I believe for some of you, that career, life path, destiny that you go on. Gemini rules the mind. It's, of course, on that day-to-day, superficial kind of like routine level, which I think is, which is why it's trining you. You work really well in this kind of energy. So I believe what this energy signifies to me is, for some of you, it's like, what do I need to do daily? Or what type of commitments do I need to do? Or, what type of risk do I need? Calculated risk do I need to take? It's a very intellectual energy for you. So I think that for some of you, you're really trying to get, some sort of clarity about, maybe the pursuit that you need to do intellectually toward this particular passion that you have at this point. Now, for some of you, this could be a significant relationship, bond, or union, and I believe those are super beautiful and destined. For some of you, the laws of attraction are beautiful in this energy. You're going to attract attention even if you don't want to, because let's face it, it's karmically destined that you're going to attract somebody in this energy. This could be somebody, this could be multiple options, right? This could also mean that it's somebody drastically different from what you would normally pick, but there is something about this person where you feel a little bit more deeply understood. You can share and exchange ideas with, and there is just this really big desire that kind of opens you up in this energy. Whatever this is a beautiful growth period for you. I believe that for some of you, this is going to align what you deeply value with that all-encompassing question about how do you get what you value, how do you pursue it, how do you how do you attract it. So that's what's going to be kind of engaging you in this particular cycle. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi dear Libra, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus and the Sun aligning in Gemini. Now for you, this energy is your ruler, and your ruler is involved in the Grand Mutable Cross. This Grand Mutable Cross is pulling you in a lot of different areas. Now, I think what it's trying to do, and I've been saying this, and this energy is still remains consistent, for quite some time here, is how do you get what you deeply desire? And there's a duality to these questions always. How do you get what you deeply desire? And how do you get the recognition that you desire? And how do you get how do you become engaged in, and I'm talking mentally engaged, on a very elevated level with your life right now?
Messages received from Jessica.
Sorry. So I believe what this is asking you is very significant questions. Okay, you're taking a look at your day-to-day life, and you're taking a look at the past. You're kind of comparing the two. I believe that you're taking a look at your rituals and your habitual mindsets. I believe habitual mindsets are huge. See, if you settle for something that you don't deeply desire, or that you're not passionate about, or doesn't expand you in some way, or doesn't excite you, or doesn't please you, and I'm talking please you on a very superficial level, it doesn't compel you to take it to the next level, anything to the next level. So for some of you, this is about what is going to take me to the next level in my life. And this has to have that all-encompassing huge question right now about what is the point? What is the purpose? Where's your designated path? And Gemini energy is always flipping between these type of mindsets, the pros and the cons, and, taking a look at all aspects of the information, and kind of, there's a lot of mental activity, I think, and it's very, very stimulating. So for some of you, you're going to be compelled, deeply compelled to share these thoughts and share these ideas and get caught up in new routines and really research them. Or maybe you're going to feel compelled to talk to people, and people are going to be unusually attracted to you that can bring you these answers to some of these significant questions. And these are, I believe, very fated unions at this time, because anytime I know that I've ever wanted to change anything in my life, I get significant messages all over the place. Gemini energy gets messages from random places. So the messages could be from the TV, or you could turn on a song. You could be having a thought, literally, and I've had this happen to me because I have a Gemini rising. I've been having a thought, and I've been trying to decipher, and I've been trying to pick apart a problem. And I'll turn on the radio, and there will be a song. Or I will turn on a movie, and there will just be my answer in that whole damn movie. They lived my problem, and the solution is in the movie. And that speaks to me a lot about Gemini energy. Gemini energy is all about multimedia. So don't be surprised if some of you really come to some of these conclusions through very, very odd ways, very, very destined, karmic, fated moments where it just so happened that you engaged some sort of multimedia device, or Facebook, or you had some very destined conversation with some just random person through the laws of attraction, that there was a perspective that you had not considered, or there was a solution, or they had lived a significant life experience that really elevated you to see how you can elevate your life and change some of these rituals, patterns, and routines. Now, I believe what all of this is doing is auto-correcting some past programming that has been limiting some of your abilities, or your perspectives, or your capacity to elevate your life to the next level. Because again, we're habitual creatures, so we continue to do these. This is about the law of attraction, inevitably, because what you're trying to attract is solutions, and you're trying to attract new mindsets, and you're trying to broaden your perspectives. And so what is ended up happening at this point is you are attracting all of this energy by the sheer law of attraction through very, very strange sources. I'm going to tell you, this stuff is bizarre. So if you just get some sort of epiphany and it's just a bizarre way of getting it, you're on the right track. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Scorpios. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Sun and Venus aligning in Gemini. So changes. Yep. You're going to need to make some changes. And this is not something that I think that you like doing all that much. And so I think one of the most difficult things about this energy is that Pluto is going to be squaring off with the Sun and Venus in Gemini. Let me tell you why. Pluto is structure, is dependability, it's consistency, well, in Capricorn. And it is a tyrant. It really demands this type of structure in its environment and in its foundation. There really needs to be always a consistency for you to not intensify in this energy. Mars is in Scorpio. It is in retrograde at this point. So you're kind of revamping you, and you're really kind of wanting to be a little bit selfish and pour a lot of energy into your identity. And what's really difficult about this energy is that I think relationships could be testing you a little bit, kind of trying to, I believe they're bringing you some pleasure and some consistency, but they're also kind of adding a little bit of instability for some of you. Now, what they may be doing is they may be having some conversations that challenge some very rigid, I want to say, very traditional areas in the way that you think. See, Mercury's in Taurus, and Mercury rules Gemini, so you kind of have to look at where the ruler is. And Mercury is involved in this trine right along with Pluto. And so everybody's kind of, your ruler is on board with a very consistent thought process. But there's this whole past situation, this past reflective cycle that's showing that you probably are starting to identify some of the areas that you probably need to change. And that's a little bit intense for you. That can bring out a little bit of the bipolar energy of the Gemini energy. And understand when I say that there's a bipolar aspect, it's just the dark. There's the dark way of looking at life, the unpleasant way or the challenging way, and then there's this part of life that really, gets you to look at just kind of like, I don't know, it's super overly optimistic. So there are two conversations that you can kind of have with yourself in Gemini energy, and then they're kind of extreme, and then there's the merging. But when you're going through this, what can be very difficult for you is that this change is so dualistic. And this change is very extreme, and you're not, even though I believe that Scorpios can be very extreme when they pull out their stinger, you're not really a fan of extremes. And in this energy, the energy is kind of extreme, at least environmentally, at least externally, politically. There's a lot of structures that I don't think that you completely agree with right now. Like government structures, structures in companies, structures in your home, authority figures that you may not agree with. And to me, what I believe that these all boil down to is it's kind of pushing you to a little bit of an extreme. And you're going to want to communicate about all of this. And you're going to want to have some conversations about things that I think you're deeply compelled to talk about, but it can seem very extreme, and there could be some very extreme feedback, because Gemini is all about communication. Now, this is something that you're deeply passionate about, and this is something that you will want people to rally behind you regarding, and this has everything to do with, now, there's an aspect to this that I think is unpleasant to talk about, but I think it's important to talk about, is the fact that when Mars is in retrograde, for some of you, there's just a stamina issue, or there is a, you're very overwhelmed, and you're very kind of mentally tired, and you're very internal. And for some people, they could be looking at that like you're not attending to them, and they're desiring a little bit more attention. Gemini energy is all attention seeking. And so they may be wanting to talk about things more than I think that you really have the capacity to talk right now, because you're in this very deeply intense time of reflection. And so I believe that it can be very difficult. You can easily be pulled into some of this mutable cross energy, even though I don't believe your ruler is not in a mutable cross. It's in that traditional, Grand Trine energy. But what I think is really odd is that some of what you're trying to deal with, or some of the issues that are coming up, sorry, I have something that is coming up right now, has everything to do with breaking tradition or extremes, and you're very rigid and kind of like want to keep everything in this little tight mindset. And for some of you, this could just be a self-preservation issue, just because there's stuff going on internally that you need to tend to, and you don't really have a lot of time for this BS that's going on outside in the world. So there's a lot of energy. I think it could easily pull you in the extreme, but just remember you have a glorious trine. And some of your relationships, if you open up and communicate, and Gemini rules communication, and Mercury is in Taurus, and it's involved in this Grand Earth Trine, and Mercury is in your relationships. Relationships could make or break you right now. So be forthcoming. Let them know, hey, I've got a lot going on internally. I'm turning inward. This is my time. And I will catch you guys at a different time, or maybe you're starting to talk about things that are a little bit uncomfortable in relationships, and just let them know, look, I'm just working through stuff. And it's all about communicating and being a little bit vulnerable in some of the ways that you communicate. It can be kind of a little bit difficult. I know that you guys have been working really hard in this communication area of your life. Pluto being in Capricorn is all about, exchanging ideas and your thoughts and being understood on a day-to-day basis. And so for some of you, there's a lot of energy swirling, and it can easily pull you into this mutable Grand Cross, and I want you to stay away from it, because it can kind of intensify the situation. Because your ruler's kind of, not feeling all that hot in this energy of retrograde and intensity, and it's really intensifying this desire to be understood, I think, and identify what you need and what pleases you, and you need to share, and you need to be understood, and you just need to be kind to you, because the changes that you need to make will come to you. Gemini energy brings information in very strange ways. It can be through it could be through social networking. It could be through, it could be through social circles. It could be through day-to-day rituals and routines that somehow you just see some weird signs, and it's all very Gemini. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hey Sagittarius, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus and the Sun aligning in Gemini. And sweethearts, this is in your partnerships. So I'm telling you right now, this could either be absolute beautiful kismet, or it could be, holy crap, what have I gotten myself into? I no longer desire this partner. Like, it's totally extreme. You could either be in a grand mutable cross, or you could be in a trine where you're just thinking about spending your whole life with this significant person that you just seem to be karmically and destined and fated to be attracted to. It's a very extreme energy. One of the things I think is super important for you to understand is that Jupiter is conjunct the North Node, but squaring off with the Sun and Venus in Gemini in relationships. This is all about the extremes in your relationships. So for some of you, what this can mean is that you need to open up very significant amount of communication in what you desire from this significant relationship, partnership, and union. Now, I want you guys to understand that just because you're in a significant partnership and union, this does not have to be in the traditional sense, because Gemini energy is all about those weird friendships that they have been loving from afar, and now they're pulling them into this kind of web of, like, I don't know, there's just an attraction level, and intensifies the attraction level, I think, for a lot of us. Some of this could bring back, you know, significant relationships that have some sort of past-based potential. You know, anytime that you have Pluto in Capricorn, it is in retrograde, and you have Saturn involved in this Mutable Grand Cross, which is in what you identify. So this could either be issues that keep coming up in relationships that you need to resolve, because if you don't, you need to talk through, you need to work through, you need to, this is a habitual issue. And this has for some of you, this has to do with work and the way that you pursue it, or what you desire from it, or the amount of attention that you desire from it, when your relationship should be what you're working on. And so it pulls you in 4 different directions to kind of hone in that energy. Or it is about taking that leap of faith and, you know, getting into some sort of habitual routine with a significant partnership and union, and this has to be, of course, somebody that you deeply value, that you want to take this risk with, of course. And then on the flip side, this has to be somebody that you see as being a very, very consistent source in your life. This person may stabilize you in some way. Now, again, I say significant bonds and unions. This could be people that you are aligning with that are helping you see that destined career life path destiny, but you have no sexual intentions for. Now, I say that, but in this energy, it's kind of charming, flirty, kind of, you know, really magnetic energy. So some of these relationships that initially started out kind of like, oh, well, I was just really interested in what they had to say, or our conversations, because that's all Gemini energy, or they were intellectually tickling me, I was being understood, and our conversations were so amazing that it could be that, whoa, I'm kind of looking at you a little bit different way. And this could be a non-traditional type relationship. This could be somebody that you probably didn't see initially the attraction level being there, but there's something so magnetic about this particular karmic fated union that you're kind of taking a look at it from a different angle, because Gemini energy is shifty. It looks at things in a yin and the yang. You can't really predict Gemini energy, so what you originally started with may not be what you actually end up with, at least intellectually, in relationships. Now remember, what this is trying to do is to try to broaden your perspectives, open you up to new things, and to break down some of the rigid belief systems, mindsets, and judgmental aspects to your personality, and really open you up to a little bit of diversity, I think is what I feel in this energy. I would definitely trine you. If you valued, you know, opening up yourself to something new, especially in your career life path destiny, I believe that you have the potential to, this is a very magnetic energy, so you have the potential to attract significant situations, bonds, partnerships, and unions. You have the ability to attract some sort of answer to questions about your career life path destiny, or somehow you attract situations that kind of fulfill you with some sort of desire or some sort of pleasurable mindset, so you want to kind of go after it. It would be like that little fish that's just attracted to that perfect lure in the water, and so it's like, wow, sparkly lure, I think I'm going to go after that. Doesn't mean that you're brain dead. In fact, this energy is intellectual energy. This person is going to, the lure that they use is going to be sparkly, intellectual, sharing thoughts, being understood. It's just a beautiful energy for you, because that's where you light up. You know, so many people look at Sagittarius as being extremely superficial, but what they really don't understand, and even though they're very decadent energy and very opportunistic energies, and they have this kind of like reputation for being a little bit of a player, what it really means is that you need to be stimulated elevated wise. And so that's why you need a lot of stimulation. But if you find that right source that really stimulates your mind on a deeply internal basis, and you're understood, and there's an exchange going on, and they kind of debate with you, and they kind of stimulate your mind, well, then you're just attracted as hell. You're never going to let that person go. It's really, that's a gold mine. That's like a diamond in the rough. That's really super hard to find. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Capricorns. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Venus and the Sun aligning with Gemini. And your ruler during this beautiful event is going to be caught in a mutable Grand Cross. It's going to be opposing the alignment. So I love oppositions. It's not a square. An opposition is a desire to meet in the middle. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to take a look at the habits, the routines, the rituals in your life, and you're trying to find a positive resolution. And so you're having lots of conversations, and your thoughts are mutating and changing, and I believe that you're going through a really big change in the way that you habitually think. Sometimes it can be difficult for us to know how to grow in energy that is this mutable, and the mutable energy in this is pushing us kind of to a certain amount of extremes, I would say. What it's doing is it's causing us to have enough opposition to engage our minds and to think about things. And these are very significant things that I think that we need to think about. Now, these are things that have everything to do with putting a realistic expectation on things that I think have been around for a while. So you are getting a realization, I think, for many of you. And I think that this is making what you're doing in this energy, it's attracting energy that's making sense out of situations that I don't think either used to habitually make sense, or you couldn't make sense out of, or, energies in your life. This could be with siblings. This could be with neighbors. This could be with like a very sensitive energy in your life, a very overly emotional person in your life, or a very overly emotional bond, significant bond, partnership, or union in your life that you have always felt make these very emotional decisions that don't seem to have any rational, logical sense behind them. But I believe that you get some sort of significant, beautiful insight. And I believe that some of your questions get answered. And this is going to challenge, I think, for some of you, the way that you were judging, or the way that you were looking at this. And you thought that you had this very elevated perspective. And I believe the information that comes in, the realizations that come in, is that you probably didn't have a very significant portion of information. I'm sorry, I'm just weltering in heat in here because I don't believe in AC. So, and it's like I don't know, 100 degrees here. So I'm just baking. So you guys are just going to have to put up with the way I look. I'm sorry. And you know what? It's so funny. I'm going to divert because this is so Gemini and I'm so sorry. I know you guys hate this stuff. But it's so funny. My dog, and I noticed this, my dog performs in most of your videos. Like, my dog loves Capricorns. Maybe he's got a Capricorn rising, or maybe he's some sort of Capricorn. He's super territorial and he's super, you know, he's super laid back and easy, and, you know, he likes his structure. So maybe he has some sort of Capricorn element. I got him at a shelter. So he loves Capricorns, but he's in bed. So, like, he's not out here, like, doing the weird stuff that he does in your videos, and I always feel so bad, and I have to apologize for his bizarre behavior in your videos because he loves you guys. Anyhow, there is a very significant situation that I believe that you're involved in, and you're trying to make sense out of. And this energy is, when Gemini looks at energy, when Gemini looks at anything, it has a very dualistic approach. So it has this very, I think initially this very superficial approach, and then it has this very, it gets enlightened. And I know that I've done this. So here's what happens. I get curious, because that's Gemini, and then I research out 20 different things at the same time, and then it explodes in my face that, oh my God, this is so amazing. And then I go to that next level of research, and then that next level of research, and before I know it, I am immersed in like 20 hours of research. Like I always took these tests, and it was always about how I should have been like somebody who did like medical research, or because when I research something, it's like a bloodhound. And I believe in this energy, you're going to feel very compelled to be a bloodhound. If I were going to define this energy for you at all, I would say you're going to be a bloodhound. And I know that's bizarre. I don't know why it came to me. It's like this very, I think Saturn fated conversation that if some of you are watching this, don't look at anything superficial. It is the start of the idea. But there is some problem that you need to solve, or some very big aspect to this that I think deserves more research, and you got to be this has got to be something that you pour your passion into. This is going to be something that you desire to solve. And in the end, I believe it's going to turn out to really, really achieve a very significant result for you. And I believe that it's going to make sense out of something that has been emotionally turbulent, or something that hasn't made sense before this moment. And I believe that it has something to do with a very significant partnership or union. And I'm going to give you a for instance. Okay, say some of you have this emotionally turbulent person in your life, and you can't really ever, they're just, the way that their emotional waves happen, it's just up and down and up and down. Say that during that time frame, you have never kind of respected that. It didn't give you any consistency. And so you had some morsel of information. So there then lies the desire to really decipher and to really research out this issue. What makes this person so emotionally turbulent, or what you get some sort of information that comes in about this person. What I deeply believe is that this information, and it could come about in a roundabout way. It could, like say you get some information, and that information makes you research it, or it brings up a question in your mind, and so you really research it out. And I believe that you start to solve your problem. This is a very fated, but it's going to pull you in lots of different directions. At first, I think what it's going to do is add a lot of confusion before the information starts to coagulate, before it starts to become consistent. And then I believe in that significant conversation, this opposition is going to start to balance out. It's going to start to change the way that you've been habitually looking at the situation. And that is very, very, very significant. This is also going to start to elevate your relationship with this person, the significant bond or union, this creative project or creative aspiration, or this particular money issue in your life. It goes in a lot of different directions. inevitably this is going to lead to some sort of pleasurable result, some sort of deep understanding. It's going to enrich this situation. It's going to bring forth a little bit, it's going to bring that particular situation a lot more closer. It's going to mean a lot more to you to resolve this situation. It's not going to be as superficial as it initially starts out. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Aquarius. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Sun and Venus aligning in Gemini. Now for you, this is happening in a beautiful part of Gemini energy. If you plan this right, you are going to, from this energy, decipher areas that you need to take risks, or maybe you need a little bit different perspective, or maybe you need to create a different outcome, or you need to be a little bit creative in your approach in communication. So your rulers are, well, Saturn is going to oppose this event, and then Uranus is squaring off with Pluto, and Pluto is in this Grand Earth Trine. So to me, what this deeply signifies is, for some of you caught up in Saturn's lesson, and Saturn's lesson is about getting control over some sort of past mindset. It's like you have some sort of rigid belief system, or you have something very, you're very set in a particular mindset. Saturn's been trying to expand that area in your life, get you to take a look at it. And what it does in this type of situation is, in this extreme, is it's going to pull it in kind of 4 different directions to get you to really completely understand this area that you do not have control in. Now, of course, you're going to be compelled to have, you're going to desire to have control over this, because this is going to inevitably attract the types of situations in your life that I think that you desire and I think that you deserve. But initially, I believe that you're not willing to take a risk in this particular way that Saturn's trying to direct you. So I feel, because I think it's some sort of expanded approach, when Saturn's in Sagittarius, it's expanding that belief system. It's opening you up to a new mindset. And I believe that because you're structured, or because you're rigid in this, it's something that you're unwilling to deal with, or it's something that you're idealizing, but you're not valuing the actual issues. So let me give you, for instance, because it's super hard for me to communicate what I'm trying, like I see it in my head, but I'm not getting it out, I think, correctly. We can value a significant bond, partnership, or union, because that represents Venus. Or we can value an outcome with money. Or we can value, deeply value a relationship, something that initially starts out. Like, we can value to the point to where we idealize it. But we're not... It's not the actual situation. We're idealizing it, but it's an unrealistic expectation. Most of the beautiful Aquariuses that I know get so rigid. And even though you have enough facts, and even though you communicate, and Gemini is all about communicating, even though you communicate on their level, and you talk in a way that I think would initially engage them, this is an area that I think you're so completely rigid in that I believe that you just refuse to engage mentally in this type of communication, validation. You don't feel like you're being understood. Either you're not understanding the situation, or they're not understanding you, and there's just this lack of cohesive mindsets. I believe there's an inconsistency. I think there's an inconsistency that if you really dial this all back into what you deeply desire, because often what we deeply desire is an idealistic mindset. And then we get a reality check, and then we dissolve it, because you're kind of an extreme energy. And when Uranus is squaring off with Pluto, that's an extreme energy. So you want to be understood, and if you're not understood, then you're putting them in the category of people in your past that never understood you. It initially kind of ignites this knee-jerk reaction from your past, this past programming, this automated response to situations. And I believe that you need to go through these extremes to understand what's at the root, what's at the base of this issue. And I believe that, of course, when I say base of the issue, I believe that we're talking that Piscean world and moving us up to the Virgo mindset, that North Node and that Jupiter mindset. So we're elevating ourselves. So sometimes we have to have these extremes. I believe that Gemini energy is extreme. Now, of course, this has to be something you deeply desire. And it has to be something that compels you on a very passionate level for you to take a look at the situation and go, wow, epiphany time. I haven't been realistic about these situations. Now, I believe that this is a deeply emotional issue. I believe that you are compelled to stay in a regimented routine. I think you like to keep the emotions stable. I think you're like a tea kettle waiting to go off. I think that this extremes in energy will pull you in lots of different directions, and you will find it hard to maintain the emotional consistency that I think that you can be well known for. You're not like an overly emotional energy externally, but internally, I think that you are a deep individual, and I believe that many people do not understand that, because what you project is like this strength and this. And so what I believe that Gemini energy is all about is about being vulnerable in communication. It's about opening up. It's about being real. It's about blurting out the reality of the situation, or the way you feel, or how it's impacting you. And you don't care if it's extreme, because you need to get this out of you. And there will be no filter, because there's Gemini energy, and Geminis really have no filter. And so, if this has to do with significant partnerships and unions, especially new ones, or creative aspirations, creative projects, or new ventures with money, you're going to be very passionate about these topics. It could be something that you want on a very simplistic, pleasurable level that you're going to be very passionate about. You're going to have a tendency to blurt in this energy. I think blurting is wonderful. Blurting is going to be like, holy cow, where the hell did they come from? But it's authentic. It's an authentic form of communication. It's you at your rawest level. And I believe that people need to see more raw. You don't have to be this strong, harsh, this strong, harsh energy that's fierce all the time. Like, you're a vulnerable energy just like everybody else. And I know that people like to think that Aquariuses are superficial. They're not. There's a lot to an Aquarius. I dig Aquarius, so you can tell that I'm very passionate about my Aquariuses. But I believe that these conversations, these blurting episodes that you have will drastically change some of your courses in life, some of your significant relationships, some of your significant bonds and unions. It's going to drastically change the way that you pursue what you desire and what pleases you most. But I think as we're doing that, we're pushing, and we're involved in this mutable Grand Cross, because that's where your energy is. And then Uranus and Aries is just so erratic and kind of all over the place. Because I think what this is that for some of you, this could be that you're involved in a relationship that is wanting you to tie you down, or is wanting to solidify things, or maybe there's an instability in those relationships. And so again, Gemini energy is fluctuating. So it's extreme. So either you can have a relationship that's want to tie you down and you're like, whoa, I don't want to be involved in the Earth Trine. I don't want to solidify my future. I don't want to set up a foundation with you. Because you're scared. Because in the past, these weren't successful bonds and unions. In the flip side of this, it could be, it could be somebody, you wanting to settle down with somebody, and there could be some sort of erratic information that comes up that is just like you didn't expect, and it's like, whoa, I freaking didn't see that. A reality check. For some of you, this could be about realizing that some sort of creative aspiration project that you have poured a lot of significant passion into, desire for, and money into is not a realistic pursuit, or you need to make some changes in that particular area. But this is all about the realization, all about what is really going on in this energy. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Pisces. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Sun and Venus aligning with, Hi, Pisces. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Sun and Venus aligning in Gemini. So for you, this has a lot to do with past programming. I think many of you are trying to break free from past mindsets that no longer serve you. And there's some sort of mutable component to this, some sort of mutable Grand Cross component to this. So for some of you, what's being brought forth in this energy is that I think that you just need to open the lines of communication. I think that for a lot of you, this has to do with your home and family. I believe where we need to start being authentic, especially when you're talking Piscean, because you guys are really re-identifying yourself. You're really exploring your boundaries. You're really bringing consciousness to some sort of unconscious energy that's been lying from within. And when this happens, it's kind of this dualistic approach to it. So you may be catching people off guard right now that thought they kind of had you pegged, thought that they understood you. And in this energy, you're making some very big, drastic changes that is causing them to kind of take a look at you in a lot of different angles. Flip side of this is some of you may be caught in some past programming that you definitely feel compelled at this time to make some changes in. There's a little bit of duality. So you're definitely compelled in this energy as Neptune is squaring off with Saturn. You're definitely compelled to have a reality check. You're definitely being compelled to realize what you're identifying with and why you're identifying with it, and what in the past did not support this new sense of self. I highly believe that out of everybody, you are the one that's going through the biggest transformation. It's just an old sense of self and a new sense of self. I mean, I believe that you were completely unrealistic about the identity that you had portrayed in the past. And I believe that moving forward, you're going to deeply identify with a much more authentic energy that is going to be really start to increase the desire that you have in your life, increase the pleasure, increase the communication. I believe that you're going to be deeply understood as the new sense of self, but we're separating. At this point, the Mutable Grand Cross, it's feeling like it's going against the grain. There's like, the energy is like, it's rubbing, it's like a spot where you continually rub. After a while, it gets irritating. And I believe that that's kind of the way that it can feel. Like you just feel irritated. You want to be understood right now. Like you have this epiphany about the new sense of self. You want everybody on board with it. And I believe that the realizations for everybody else, the significant partnerships, bonds, and unions in your life, relationships, families, I believe that relationships in particular, especially if there's significant bonds and unions, are going through a square right now. They're going through a realization. What I think it is that you're breaking away from that mutable quality that helps you mutate to whatever they desire you to be. It's like right now you're authentically you. You desire to be you. And in this energy, you're not scared of being you. So whoever's not on board with Team You, they're not on board with Team You. And, you know, that's okay, because what this does is it internally gets you to be authentic. And Gemini energy, when the sun and Venus align, it's about attracting magnetic attractions, fated karmic attractions that inevitably compel you to engage in a different way. Now, because it's a dualistic energy, you're looking at things from multiple perspectives. You're looking at things in your day-to-day life and you're thinking, well, I could do it this way or I could do it that way. But these are your thoughts. I think the most significant thing about this energy is it's you. It's not somebody else compelling you to make these decisions or inspiring you to make these decisions or telling you to make these decisions. It's like, I'm making these decisions. It's authentically me, and who's ever not on board, I'm okay with. And but you have to go through this opposition or this energetic challenge, I think, to break free and to get a little bit more authentic. And it doesn't always feel, I think, the best. And I think that sometimes we mistake what we're feeling or the challenge of it or the energizing feeling of it. It's a little bit engaging. It's very overstimulating. With what I'm really trying to do is just trying to find me. Like you can lose your sight. Like you could say, I am this person. It's like a person that comes out of the closet, and in whatever aspect that is. And they do it to an extreme, and then they kind of level out. And they don't have to externalize it so much to get recognition. They just are. They just are. They're comfortable in their skin. They're comfortable in their environment. They're comfortable in their relationship. They're comfortable with what they desire. And it just magnetically attracts it. But at first, when you're going through that initial change in energy, there's a sense to go to an extreme to get that recognition, that same type of mindset. And then as you flip back and forth between extremes, you get closer and closer, and then you're just balanced. And then you're Jupiter in Virgo, and you're the North Node in Virgo. But right now you're kind of like, I think, a little bit caught between that South Node in Pisces, which are compelled to be more South Node. And so you're going to be a little bit extreme in the way that you go about this at first, attracting what you deeply desire, the relationships. I mean, you really are going to kind of go to extremes to get to that level of like, I just am who I am. People don't like me. They don't got to look. Like, that's kind of the way I'm at my age. It's like when you get old, you're like, I don't frickin' care. Like, you don't like the way I look. You don't like the way I talk. You don't like the way that I am. Well, guess what? I don't give a rip, because I just am. Like, you don't gotta talk to me. You don't gotta look. You don't gotta even gotta acknowledge me. I don't care. Not relevant in my life. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event.